Well, my dad told me that I had to earn it in practice. And we only had about 2 weeks to practice before the bubble started. Thankfully, I was playing well in practice. And some of the guys, even Baser Mer came late to the bubble for health reasons. Some of our guys, I think 5 or 6 of our guys came in late because of protocol. And yeah, I was able to play well in practice. My first game was okay. In my second game, I was able to score, I think, 8 points, have a couple rebounds and assists. So yeah, from then on, I was able to lock, not really lock, but show that I could play. And then I think it was really the Magnolia game, our fourth game. Ended up, I think, scoring 16 points or something like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah, you
Uh,
won. I remember. Yeah,
yeah, and then we won in double overtime,
yeah,
and that's when I think I really locked that backup spot to Baser up. Thankfully, I was able to continue to play well, and because if I didn't, I know my dad already, I would be sitting on the bench really quick.
yeah,
And he told me that from the start of the bubble that I'll give you a chance, but once you start stinking it up, then you're out. If you start
yeah,
playing well, then I'll keep you in the game.
yeah. Do you prefer playing off the bench? Because some players like Calvin Oftana, he played in the NCAA, he was MVP, but he said also in a show that gusto ko off the bench because I can see the defensive game plan already. So do you like the role of being off the bench? Because on end game, sometimes you're there over Baser if you're playing better than him in that specific game.
Honestly, if you're used to your role, I don't think it matters if you come
Yeah.
off the bench or start. Of course, for me, coming from the D League, coming from the MPBL, it's always better to start just because you get more of a rhythm in the
Mm-hmm.
game. You just come straight out of warm ups, and then you start the game from 0-0. So
Yeah.
basically, you're not trying to gain a lead, or you're not trying to um, come from behind and get the lead back or things like that. You can take certain shots that you might not be able to take if you're coming off the bench. Because when you come off the bench, you have to have a spark right away. Um, so yeah, there's a little bit of a difference. For me, either one is fine. I just adjust to what's given to me. But I think anybody you ask would rather start than come off the bench, unless you're Lou
Yeah.
Williams, of
Lou
course.
Williams, Jordan
Yeah,
Clarkson now. He's
yeah,
leading
Jordan
six
Clark.
man. Yeah. So I don't know because in my opinion, in the bubble, some people weren't. I don't know if they were taking you for granted because sometimes Newsome towards the end game he'd already handled the ball and then because he's your star player, quote unquote,
Yeah.
and then you had that unorthodox shot. Like people might be, would it be? I don't know. They'd be surprised if you attempt. I guess because I don't know. I feel like they left you open a lot, and then you were really prepared. Catch and shoot, leave me open. It's your mistake. You're going to make them pay for it. So how did you develop the confidence? Because your dad said, I think, in that San Miguel game that I don't know, there was one time you were hot and then you shot a random three and then it airballed or something and he got really pissed or something. So how was that process in developing your confidence as a shooter in the PBA?
Well, coming into when we were in the pandemic, that was a big part of what my dad and I tried to do. Was develop my 3 point shot because I was so known for just my mid range game and getting to the basket and distributing the ball and things like that that I wanted to further my game. I think it was a big part of it because I think I shot 39% from the three. So it was like the whole 6 months of shooting and missing and making shots uh, ended up being a good thing for me because it ended up showing in the bubble. I think what really happened was at the start of the season, maybe the first 3, 4, 5 games, because of how I used to play before, they didn't really think I would take those threes. They didn't really think I would, or maybe they thought they'd rather um, worry about New or maybe Elaine Maliksi than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, as you saw in the Hinebra series, that changed a lot in the semis because
Yeah.
I was getting hard closeouts from everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
So that's
noticed
something I
that.
want to work on now is really
Yeah.
just a quicker shot, more bounce on my shot. But yeah, maybe it was a big part of it also that my game wasn't that way before, and I just really developed it during the pandemic.
Yeah. I heard also Duncan Robinson, he said it in a show, like he'd get before like in October till like maybe December when he was a rook, not really a rookie, he was already in his second year, but then he was when he was getting used already by Spolstra. he'd get all the open shots because they'd be like, oh, Dragic is gonna shoot, Jimmy's gonna shoot, but they don't know this guy's one of the best catch and shoot shooters in the NBA. But then now this year, I think you know that he's having a tough time getting those open looks.
Yeah,
So he really needs to add something to into his game also to
exactly.
become
That's
more
what
of
I'm
a threat.
expecting next year.
Yeah,
Um, that's why I want to work on different things now. Shot fake, pull up, or getting my shot off quicker or higher, things like that. Because I already know, judging by what you just said with Duncan
yeah,
Robinson, that once the teams really know you already,
yeah,
the year after, you don't want to have a sophomore slump, and because teams are really locked in on you.
yeah. I agree. So moving on to that San Miguel series, I know that they were really they didn't have Junmar and they didn't have Terrence, but then they were still favored, I believe, because of the star power. And but
Yeah.
then I also had that gut feel that you had a chance to win because their team had no bench basically. I mean, I don't know who their bench players were, but then Coach Leo had a tough time figuring out the rotation because he wasn't used to playing these other players because in the previous conferences they wouldn't need to play because they had the Junmar and Terrence.
Yeah.
But what was your mindset going to that series? Because in game one, I think you were the best player and you made the clutch corner three, I believe, if I remember correctly. And then in game two, you blew them out of the gym. So how was the mindset of the team going into that series?
Because when you're in a bubble for 2 months, you don't want to go home in the quarterfinals.
Yeah,
You guys sacrifice so much. You have the same routine every day, and we understood that. Yeah, we were twice to beat, but at the same time, we had nothing to lose. So we came in the first series, and credit to my teammates, credit to the coaching staff. We really scouted them well. I think we had a good game plan for Mo Tautua, who was a big part
yeah,
of their offense,
yeah,
and we were able to shut that down. Thanks, not really shut it down because I think he still had a double double, but
yeah, yeah,
Raymond Almazan and Papa Ray and all those guys, they did a really good
yeah.
job on him, at least trying to limit him because it's a tough guy to limit.
Hmm.
Um, and really on the offensive end, we shared the ball. I think we had a bunch of
Yeah, I
assists.
noticed that. Yeah,
Yeah, both games we just shared the ball. We didn't care who was making the shots. As you could see from my last shot in the corner, Nu could have made a step back jumper, things like that, but instead he decided to kick it out to me, and that was consistent the whole. I think from our third game, oh no, sorry, from our fourth game against Magnolia all the way to the semis, that was consistent. The extra pass was always there. We tried to make that a point. Of course, there are games where we only have 12, 13 assists, but at the same time, we always try to hammer it in viewing that we have to share the ball because we're not that type of team where you give it to somebody and he can just get you 30 points.
yeah,
We have to do it
exactly.
by committee, and
Yeah,
we were able to do that in the San Miguel series.
yeah. With the formation of your team, you already said that you don't have a superstar. I mean, Newsome, like you go to him at the end game, he made a game winner against Terra Firma. But the construction of your team, there are other players that can suddenly have a 20-25 point game. Like Alain Maliksi could suddenly explode. Bong Quinto, sometimes he's also like you, like they don't want to guard him, but then he's a really talented player. So do you believe that you went all the way to the semi? So did the bubble environment help you as a team? Because you were also one of the teams that were really united. So because there you really just I don't know focused on ball, but then did you really did you really feel that that environment helped you? Like maybe how
Yeah,
it helped the Heat in the NBA.
that's actually who we were comparing ourselves to when we were in the
Miami,
bubble.
perfect. Yeah,
Man, we were we became a very close team. Excuse me,
yeah,
in the bubble because you're together 24/7, and after practices, after games, we'd be together in one of the rooms, maybe playing cards or just talking about the game. Me, Nu, Cliff, Travis, some other guys, we would watch tape together. You'd have the coaches every day together watching tape. So it really, the team came together, and we developed our chemistry because even things like having food at night, eating together, or being in the pool and just playing certain games like we're kids again and stuff like that. I think it really brought us together because in the bubble you have no choice. These guys are your family. These guys are the people that you see every day, and it's either you can make the most out of it, which I think we were able to do, or you guys can just go your separate ways. And thankfully, us guys, we like each other very much, so that chemistry showed on the court.